Hello there. Good afternoon. It's Brian right here with the Horror Experience, and we're continuing on with another movie as I dissect these movies the way I see them. Um, Today is July 9th, 2024. It is coming up on 1 o'clock p.m. out here in California. It's been very warm. Today is supposed to be about 108. Yesterday got to 110. Now we're used to hundreds, so in the summer, I mean, we live in a desert technically, so even though it is the agriculture hub of the world, here in Central California, it is still hot in the summer and cold in the winter, so we get a little bit of everything. We just don't get snow in town, but 20 minutes outside of town, you got snow in the wintertime. But it's been really hot. I know people in Arizona have been hot, and Las Vegas they're getting hot, but it's desert. It's desert and it's summertime, so that's the way things go. Well, hey, what movie did I check out this morning? This is the 2019 Pet Semetary. Now, this one was done by two people, Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. And did I like it? I didn't really get much out of it, to be honest with you. To me, it was like watching the original, although it is a remake. Well, at least that's what they're calling it, a remake. They switched a few things here and there, but nothing dramatic. I mean, it was the same idea, same principle, same events, just different actors, different people. Instead of the boy being the main character, as far as being the one who comes back, besides the wife, they have the little girl get killed by the truck, and then gets buried in the sacred burial ground, or prohibited sacred burial ground. Like the original, the thing I have problems with is, if you're going to throw an R on this thing, then make it an R movie. I didn't see R here. Although, Pet Semetary, or at least the way Stephen King wrote it, it's really a psychological horror film. It's about the emotional torment that this family endures with the loss of a loved one, and then being so overtaken by the loss of this person that they decide to utilize this Native American burial ground. They call it an Indian burial ground, which is an overused, to me that's overused. It's an overused theme. But the way I look at it is quite a bit different than the way some people look at it. This is how I portray the whole thing. Now, we'll get to that in a minute, but right now I just want to say, if a child gets run over by a truck, just like in this one, just like in the original, the 89 movie that was done by Mary Lambert, the kid's going to be obliterated, especially when you got a truck barreling down the highway at 90 miles an hour or whatever it is. Obviously it was going fast. Then it's just going to be a flat person. There's just a lack of realism as far as injuries to me. Coming back as looking like a kid who's been jumping in a mud puddle doesn't do it for me. I needed to see some injuries. Now, at the beginning of the movie, you know, they have the the black kid who Creed is working on because he's a doctor, I guess, who gets hit by a car and he ends up in the hospital or whatever, and he's trying to revive him. Now he had some injuries, you know, he had his face was all screwed up and his body was mangled and all of that. Well, when the kid came back after getting hit by a diesel truck tanker trailer, you're not gonna. It's not gonna be like a kid playing in the mud. It's gonna look. She's gonna be a messed up individual, and they could have done that. I mean, you could even play off of the fact that, well, maybe the body was taken to the funeral parlor and they fixed up the body. There's stitches and staples. They did do it in the back of the head, but it was hidden. You know, and he's bathing her. You know, the staples become evident, like they had done some work on her. But she would have been this messed up thing. You know, that is why I loved 2, was because Mary Lambert, who did the sequel, also. Now the woman, the mom in this story, was electrocuted. She was an actress, and she was electrocuted while portraying, you know, a scared victim in a horror movie. You know, because she was an actress portraying an actress, and she died from being electrocuted. So now she's not going to be all torn up and all of that. So that's realism. So, but there was a lot more gore in this one, and compared to the original. And I think some of it was just this wokeness. They just decided that, you know, it's a child. Let's not make the child look like a torn up, you know, accident victim. Let's just make them dirty like they've been buried, you know, that kind of thing. Well, he dug her up and takes her up to the sacred burial ground that's on the other side of the Pet Semetary. And so basically it's all the same deal. We have a family who moves from Massachusetts to Maine, and they move into this house that's built right next to a pet cemetery, hence the name. And just beyond the pet cemetery is this sacred Native American burial ground, or at least that's the way they've described it. Which, again, is overused. Now, this is my take on it. To me, it's a sacred burial ground where they have played around, and I'm talking in the ancient times, played around with magic. And they played around with spirits, with demons, quite possibly. Even though the movie really leaves everything a mystery as far as what it really is. But obviously when the animal or person comes back after you bury the person or animal in this sacred burial ground, they come back something else. I mean, they come back looking like the person or the animal, but they come back pissed off and, you know, malevolent. They don't come back as themselves. They come back murderous. As if whoever it was that made this sacred burial ground was monkeying around with something they shouldn't have been monkeying around with, and when they discovered what this spell or this incantation or whatever it is that they did to create this burial ground, once they discovered what it could do, they started burying their dead there so that they would come back. But then they found out that they don't come back, as they've lost their humanity. They don't come back the original person. They come back as somebody else or something else. Most likely a demonic spirit of some sort, or a spirit of a pissed off evil person or something. But it always comes back as this murderous demonic type thing, and that's just the way I see it. Playing around with the natural order of life and death, and it comes back. There's a price, sadly, and so that's what we get here. The movie otherwise is exactly the same thing as the original. It's just that, Gage comes back in the original looking like just a kid that, a kid that's discolored and, and that kind of thing. But I guess maybe they were just trying to be nice to the kid and not make him look too messed up and scare the kid half to death, But I mean, they could have done some really simple practical effects to make the girl and the boy look, in both movies, look a little bit more realistic as far as injuries are concerned. Because when you get run over by a truck, man, it doesn't look like you've been playing in the mud. I'm sorry. You're going to be this bloody, disfigured mess. And that's what I want to see. And I know that's not what the book wanted. I don't care what Stephen King wanted. I would like to, if I was going to do this movie, I would bring the realism into it. Sure, have the burial ground. I probably wouldn't make it a Native American burial ground. I think I would just make it some incantation from some ancient clerics or something, or some ancient druids who were messing around with shit that they shouldn't have been messing around with, and they started playing around with, well, let's bury our dead here, and they figured out what they could do, but instead of bringing back their loved ones, they're just bringing a demon in the, possessing the bodies of their loved ones, and it all goes haywire. And that was the reason why they blocked off with all of the lumber and the branches and shit to try to keep it from going up there. But I mean, I like the movie. They went back to the cat that's on the cover of the novel, of the Stephen King novel, more of a calico fluffy thing rather than a gray short hair, which I thought was actually more cool, because I have gray short hairs in my cat family that look a lot like Church from the original. But they tried to go back to this, but it's just the same shit. Nothing really, and then I was hearing that Del Toro wanted to, I want to do a Pet Semetary, and I'm, I would just love to do one. Well, I don't like his movies anyway. Most of his movies they're too Disney for me. I just, they're, I liked Hellboy and stuff like that, but, that's more comic book, and then, Afraid of the Dark, or whatever it was he did. I actually have that movie, but, about these little gnomes or whatever, his movies are just, they're just not, they're not scary to me, and I can't see him doing Pet Semetary. They need somebody like, bring somebody in, that's done some good gory horror, and make a Pet Semetary, Either that, or play off of 2 and go Pet Semetary 3, do a sequel, or even a prequel that'll go back to the people before the Creeds got there, or something like that. But just doing remakes, yeah. Just, if we're just going to do the same thing over and over again, that's like Cabin Fever. Why did they decide to do another Cabin Fever that just mimics the original? The original was way fun, but it's just, let's just do it again, unless you're going to really up the ante. I don't see what the point was. I really don't. So they didn't up the ante here at all. They just kept the psychological horror, the emotional part of it, But you can still keep all of that and still have the kid look messed up, or at least look like the medical, the funeral parlor fixed up the body with stitches and staples, and make this Frankenstein look like she got hit by a truck and not just somebody who's been playing in the mud puddle. I mean, that lost me on the first movie, and that lost me on this one. Now, I like 2 because they kept, because you didn't have to have a bunch of injuries, but they did. They had gore in this, more so than 1 and more so than this. So, like I said, if you're going to throw an R on there, throw an R on there. I mean, put an R movie in there. Put a little gore in there. Make it a horror movie, especially when it has to do with dead people that have been killed by getting hit by trucks and cars and whatever else, Make them look like they got hit by a car. All right, the next movie I'm going to move over to is going to be Annabelle Comes Home. Now remember, this is a movie that I forgot I even had. I had all my Annabelles, my Conjurings, Nun, and all that together, and I thought I was missing Annabelle Comes Home, and Conjuring 3 I am missing. I'd never picked that up, and I need to get it. I think I was kind of conjuring out. I was kind of, all right, we can put this to bed, But this is fun. I like the Annabelle films. I have not seen this one. I have seen Creation and the original, but I haven't seen Comes Home yet. Again, we're dealing with a switch up here. We're dealing with Ed and Lorraine Warren again, and this time has to do with the doll being placed in their collection of possessed items that they have in this room that they have all in these cases, and supposedly each one of these items is possessed with a spirit, They changed it up, though. The actual Ed and Lorraine Warren did not use a demon. They said that the doll was possessed by a girl. We don't even have a year the person was died or anything. By the name of Annabelle Higgins, and some little girl who was just lost in space and decided that they're going to land in this doll. And they couldn't even find a person by the name of Annabelle Higgins. So, in other words, bullshit. Just like Amityville Horror. The murders happened, yes. The hauntings, bullshit. Makes money. Up comes the book happened. Jay Anson makes the book. Jay Anson, was it Anson? Yeah. Makes the book, or writes the book, and then the movies, and it's just been Amityville after Amityville after Amityville. Pretty soon it's Amityville Dollhouse, and Amityville this, and Amityville that. We even have an Amityville Bigfoot. So we have a Bigfoot coming out of the Amityville house. Which is fun, by the way. It's stupid, but it's fun, But I mean, the word Amityville, I have a feeling every fucking time they use the word Amityville in a movie, somebody's getting paid. And it's not just the movie makers. I'm sure that the Lutz family probably is still, even though the original the original people who made up all of this crap are long gone. But they stated they only stayed in the house. They moved in a year after the murders happened. The actual murders that occurred in the house, where the 6 family members were killed by. Oh shit! What was his name? Seems like I should remember all of this stuff. I've been looking at so many things that my brain just can't contain it anymore. Uh, oh yeah, Ronald DeFeo Jr. He just died not that long ago. I mean, like what was it? Like 3 years ago, 3 years ago. He died in prison. I think he was like 69 or something like that. They didn't even say why he died. I mean, it's just like he died in 2021. Weird. But anyway, they stated that they only lasted in the house 28 days, the Lutz family, and I think they just moved in too early. They moved in a year after the murders. The blood hadn't even dried, you know. I mean, there were already somebody moving in just because the price was right. I mean, it was a good, cheap mansion for nothing practically because of the incident that happened there. And let's make up a bunch of shit. And then, of course, the Warrens go in there and make up a bunch of shit. And now we've had, what, how many families have lived in the house and have never had anything? Including the current people that have been there a while now. Anyway, in this movie, or I should say in all of the Annabelle films, they're not using a little girl named Annabelle Higgins. They actually use a demon called Malphus, who's this some sort of made-up demon. But anyway, he wants to possess people and that kind of thing, and he's using the doll as a conduit to get into the world and possess people, and he wants to create havoc on Earth, and Annabelle is his conduit, so that's more fun, you know, than just some girl who's lost in space somewhere, doesn't know where the light is, and chooses to land in a doll. I mean, come on. But anyway, I can't wait to check that out. And then after that, I'm going to be heading over to, well, I won't tell you. I'll wait until after the Annabelle Comes Home movie, and then I'll tell you about it. But anyway, as far as the Pet Semetary remake is concerned, nah. That's my thought on it. It was dark, could barely see most of it. The dialogue was really hard to hear too. I couldn't really hear it. I haven't checked it out on Blu-ray. I'd like to, because I'd like to go over and look at the special features too. But because that's only on the Blu-ray, and you do get the Blu-ray with the 4K, so you can watch. The 4K has no special features on it. All the special features are on the Blu-ray disc. So, but anyway, I just didn't get much out of this, so it's just Pet Semetary, you know, on 4K. I would much rather watch this. This is by far one of my favorite horror movies. It is. I love this movie. I love Pet Semetary too. Alright guys. Well, thanks for joining me, and get ready for Annabelle Comes Home from 2017. That'll be coming up next. Alright.